couple things, guys, that I want to make sure that we're on the same page about. This one's been big lately, and I want to just make sure that we're a really proactive agency and not a reactive agency. Okay. So carriers, just so you guys know, and I should have been better. Maybe I haven't been a good job about training this. So persistency, right? Desiree, what is persistency?
How much of your business stays on the books?
Okay, perfect. Love it. Okay, so when you write a bunch of policies, guys, and this I think should be, we got to talk about this more because this is really important. When you write business, guys, you want so naturally some of it's going to fall off. You're going to have clients that cancel. We know about chargeback. That is bound to happen. There's no producer in the world that has a perfect record and has never had a cancellation in their life. Okay. That being said, you want to have your persistency at a level that is manageable and makes sense for the agent, the client, as well as the carrier, right? So every single time that we're in business with anybody, even though we get have a lot of fun and make a lot of money, this is still a business, and it's a business for everybody. It's a business for Family First Life. It's a business for you, and it's a business for the carrier. Okay. So that being said, guys, your persistency, and they do 6-month persistency as well as 12-month persistency in a percentage, and 13-month, right? Because they want to make sure you're not canceling all your business on the after the 12-month. All the carriers do those persistency, and you should be shooting to have a 70% or above for every carrier. Okay. So what does that mean? If Desiree writes 10 policies and 3 of them fall off, she's going to be right at 70% persistency. That's 70% of her clients are keeping their business on the books 13 months after the policy is written. Okay. So basically another way to put that, guys, is your chargeback rate. Okay. So if Desiree writes 10 policies and 7 of them get canceled before the 13 months, then that's not good. That makes the carrier be like, what the heck's going on? Is Desiree overselling the policy? Is she not following up with her clients? Is she not, letting them know that they have to pay this every month? Can they not afford it? Right? Are the premiums too high? Right? Is Desiree canceling her business with one carrier and putting it with another carrier? Okay, so there's going to be things that are coming out in the future, one, to help you guys with persistency, right? If you need training on how do I get less chargeback, ask your manager. We'll make it happen. We can talk about different things you can say over the phone, right? We can talk about different things you need to be discussing with the client. If you didn't know about persistency at all, well, then good thing you're on this call because it's really important. Okay, so that being said, we want to make sure that we're really proactive with that. And how do you be proactive, right? You need to be checking your business pretty much every day, if not every other day, right? So you should be checking, hey, I wrote 10 policies. Let me see which ones went through. You can log into all of your carrier back offices. If you had an admin, your admin can help you do that, right? So if you have a carrier back office, because also, guys, we have an agency persistency too, right? So every single month I get a report that says, hey, your entire agency is at 71%. Or sometimes I get a report that says, hey, your entire agency is at 62%. And then I'm like, whoa, shoot, I got to go find the agents that are bringing that persistency level down, because that makes the carrier not want to work with us, right? So at the end of the day, guys, even though this is an amazing opportunity and we are going to help a lot of families, and that is why we do this, the insurance carriers have to make money, right? Straight up. So if it becomes less profitable and not good business for them to have you as an agent or us as an agency, that's problematic. Okay. So I want to just remind you guys to make sure that as you're writing policies, no matter what carrier you're writing with, you're logging into your back offices every couple of days and checking, hey, I wrote Miss Mary a policy. Did it go through? Was it approved? Did it go through? Did she pay the premium? Does she know it was approved? And does she know she has to pay the premium? Okay, perfect. Right. Then maybe you do a 6-month review, right? I want to go in and just make sure, hey, over the last 6 months, I look at everything. Is everything still in? What do I have in lapse pending? Right. The carriers give you a lot of leeway, right? They'll tell you like 3 months in advance, hey, Desiree hasn't been paying her policy for the last 2 months. Reach out to this client. So then you can reach out. Hey, Miss Desiree, I saw that you missed your last 2 payments. What's up? She says, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I switched my banking information. I didn't even realize I switched my banking information. Boom. You get that updated for her. She keeps her policy and you don't have a chargeback, which means your persistency stays up. Okay. So I want to make sure that everyone's really, really clear about that. I've had a couple people that have said like, hey, I didn't know about that, or blah, blah, blah. If your clients don't stay on the books, guys, that's literally like the end all be all of being an insurance agent. So if all of your clients or the majority of your clients cancel their policies after you get them the policy, that's not good for an agent, because you're going to have a ton of debt and a ton of chargebacks. And the second thing, it's not good for the client, right? So you don't want to have a client. Remember, if a client cancels their policy or forgets to make a payment or it falls off the books and they die, they don't have coverage. So even worse than it is for you, which it is not great for you. It's also not good for our agency, but it's also really bad for the client, because if they pass away, God forbid, and they missed a payment or it didn't go. So what I'm saying, guys, is make sure you're being proactive about that stuff, right? I've had also some people that reach out to me after the fact and they're like, hey, I got terminated from the carrier. How do I get it back? And I'm like, Well, you should have been thinking about that 8 months ago when your persistency was not very good. Right? So I don't have a magic wand to just wave for everybody like, hey, we can just get you that carrier back. If the carrier says no, the carrier says no. Okay. So that being said, guys, make sure you're logging into your back offices. Make sure you're having the right conversations with your clients. Another thing that you cannot do, and I don't know if we've been good about this, you can't switch the carrier for no reason. Right? So you have to be able to make an argument to the Department of Insurance that it was a better policy for them. So if Desiree, right, and we don't have anybody that does this, but just so you guys know, because other agencies have had this, if Desiree writes a bunch of policies with Americo and then she waits till the chargeback period is over and then she calls all of her clients and she's like, hey, Miss Mary, I'm actually going to switch you over to Mutual of Omaha because, and then she thinks she's going to get paid again, they will report you to the Department of Insurance and you'll lose your license. So you cannot churn your own business. You can't cancel policies and put them with other carriers. So you need to just be really, really by the book with everything and be proactive about that. So that way you're not messaging me like, hey, Marissa, I lost my contract. And I'm like, yeah, your persistency was like 7 out of every 10 clients were canceling. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, you're not profitable, right? Same thing with death claims, right, guys? So if you have, and again, it's not your fault if clients die, but it is your fault if you didn't underwrite the situation, right? So if you have, 6 policies with Americo and 4 out of those 6 people die within the first 6 months, they're going to wonder, hey, Desiree, are you asking the questions on the application? Hey, are you sure that these people didn't have pre-existing conditions? Hey, are you sure? Because we got their medical records back and it did say they were, insulin dependent diabetic and they did also have cancer. Like, did you ask them that? So just make sure, guys, that you're following the application, that you're asking the right questions, you're not overselling, and that also you're checking this stuff, right? A lot of people just don't realize, like, you need to log into your back office and just say, hey, I sold this policy, I helped this family, make sure everything goes through. I know some people like to send thank you cards, so that helps keep business on the book. Some people like to do, I know we used to have an agent that would, your phone, like if you have an iPhone now, can program, like you can have things that go out to the clients every so often. So every time you help help a family with a policy, you can put, helped Jade on this date. And then 1 year, you could schedule a message from 1 year from that, or from 6 months from that to say, hey, Jade, just want to double check everything's good with your policy. Anything I can do to help? And then all of a sudden Jade's like, hey, and then they have that relationship with you. Remember, so that's super, super important, especially guys in virtual sales. It's really important to do that, especially if you're over the phone, because your clients don't have that face-to-face interaction. So they need to feel like, hey, I'm your agent for life. I can help you. We're going to be talking in the future. It should not be like, hey, I sold them this policy and then I never talked to them again. You should have a relationship with your clients that they trust you. They know they can call you if they need anything updated. And then you can call the carriers as well and update anything that they need updated. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. The next thing, guys, that is also, we're going to be doing this as well. There's only 3 reasons people get terminated from a carrier. Okay. The first one is persistency. We just talked about it. Okay. If you have bad persistency and you need help bringing it up, just let me know. We can come up with a plan. A lot of the carriers will also let you maybe come up with an improvement plan too. That's between you and them. Okay. The second reason is inactivity. Okay, so if you haven't written some carriers have a policy like Americo. If you haven't written a policy that issue paid with Americo in the last 6 months, they're going to terminate you. Why? Because there's no point in having you on the books with them, right? They also want to make sure that not a bunch of inactive agents can come back and just write policies whenever they feel like, when they feel like you're out of practice. So one thing that's super important about what we do, guys, is obviously staying up to date with all the regulations, all the carriers, the different products, what the rules and things are with the Department of Insurance. So if you haven't written a policy in 6 months, they want to make sure, hey, this person who's been out of practice, maybe hasn't been in the game for a while, maybe isn't up to date on what the insurance laws are, maybe isn't following what our regulations are. They can't just come out and write random policies. Okay. So if some of people have been terminated for inactivity, just you're not writing any policies, they want to make sure, hey, they have to, do something else. And then they're like, hey, how do I get my contract back? And I'm like, well, why would you want to get it back? You haven't been writing in 6 months. Why are you going to write now? Right? Like, why are you going to write policies now if you haven't written policies in the last 6 months? Right? So just make sure you're staying up to date on that stuff. Different carriers have that policy as well. They just want to make sure that the agents that they have on their books and that the people that have access to their e-applications to help clients are active, they're up to date. Right. And here's the other thing, guys, and I'll just be really frank with you because that's where we're at this point. If you're only writing one policy every 6 months, you're probably not very profitable anyway. Right. The idea behind this is writing and helping a lot of families. So if you're only writing one policy here and there, and then let's say you have one, if you write one policy and it falls off the books, well, then you have really bad persistency because you went 0 for 1. Right. So you have like a negative persistency and you're not profitable and you have chargebacks. So the carrier is actually trying to protect you. Right? They're like, why would we continue to let Riyadh write one policy every so often? Because then it falls off. He has bad persistency. Not good for us, not good for the client, and also not good for Riyadh because every time we pay Riyadh $1,000, we have to charge it back because his client cancels, right? So the idea in this business, guys, is really good persistency. It's being really active. Now, I'm not saying you need to come out and be a gazillionaire producer every single month and you need to do 40K back to back to back, but you need to be monitoring your carriers, okay? And if you come to me or your manager as well and say, hey, Des, I got terminated from this carrier. They let my contract go because I haven't written with them in 2 years. And how do I get it back? It's like, well, we're not really going to try to get it back for you. You haven't written in 2 years. So what's the difference, right? Now, again, not to say you need to be doing, this much. We're not going to put necessarily a quota on it, but remember, it also costs us money and it costs the carriers money to contract you. So they're like, well, can I recontract? And it's like, well, you want to cost the carrier money to do all the contracting. You want to cost Jade time. Jade spends her time. The carrier spends their money. We spend our time talking about a recontract. And then guess what? You don't write any business anyway. So we are going to be also making sure that people are being active, that they're monitoring that stuff. And you should be monitoring that as well. If you haven't written a policy in 6 months with a carrier. So maybe you should say, hey, I haven't written a policy in a while. Let me double check. Let me double check that I'm still active, or let me get some business on the books. Or if I'm not active and you don't care about losing the contract, then that's fine too. Right. And if something changes in your life and you come back and you want to be active in the future because you're going to go, you're going to go all in, that's fine as well. But this should be you need to be monitoring that. Okay. So this is not something I monitor. I can't look at every single contract in our agency and be like, oh, this person lost that carrier. This person lost that carrier. They never put in, that's on you. Right. And Jade can't do that either. She would be working around the clock, like every single day for 7 days a week and never have a break. So that is something that's on you and your admins and your responsibility to, and it does make sense, right? Why would it makes sense for the carrier, right? They want to make sure that people are up to date, that people are, keeping up to date. And again, if you're going to go back and go all in, we can try to get your contract back for you. But if you're really not, then there's no point, right? And we have plenty of carriers to work with. So proactive, not reactive. Okay. Because again, once it happens and it's like, we have to go back and do all this stuff that doesn't really make sense. Okay. And then the third reason, so persistency, inactivity, or debt. Okay. So this is something for our agency as well. If you have a bunch of chargebacks and you have debt with the carrier and you are not paying it back or don't have an active payment plan, the carrier is going to fire you. Okay. If you have a chargeback, they don't need you to pay it all back today. If they're like, hey, Des, one of your policies fell off the books yesterday, we need all the money today. That's not how it works. They give you ample opportunity, actually more opportunity than I would even think they should give you. They give you months and months and months. Shoot, some of these carriers will hold your debt for a year. Right. So the reality is you have plenty of opportunity. There's never been a time in my life when the carrier's been like, hey, chargeback, you need to pay it today. So you also are responsible for that, right? Sometimes people are like, oh, I didn't know I had debt with this carrier. Well, you were not logging into your back offices. If you don't know that you have debt, well, then you don't know because you're not monitoring your business the way you should, right? A lot of times people want to go out and they want to sell. And it's like, you're forgetting about all this stuff over here on the back end. That's also part of your business. Selling is the fun part. Dialing is the fun part. Right? Getting to meet clients is the fun part. Going to our events is the fun part, right? Talking with Desiree on the phone about how to get better is the fun part. Like all that stuff is amazing. And getting around our team, these team calls, these are the fun part. Do you think I like checking my back offices? No. Do you think Jade likes logging in to my every single back office every single day to check on what the heck is going on? No, she doesn't like that, but that's the not fun part of being a business owner. So that is your responsibility to make sure that you're doing that every single, right? If you have debt over $5,000 with the carrier, they can as earn you. They can make you do a payment plan. The agency can as earn you. We can say, hey, we're just not trusting that this is going to get paid off. So we're actually going to as earn the rest of your carriers. And that makes sense. Again, guys, as much fun as we get to have and as much money as we get to make, it's still a business, right? And I'll be straight up. I don't want to be in business with people that have debts, up the wazoo that don't want to pay them back. Then I'm like, well, I don't really want you to continue, right? If Desiree all of a sudden has 10, 15 chargebacks in a row, and I'm like, Des is not doing anything about this. Do I really want to be in business with Des? Not really. Right. And then Des is gonna be like, well, why don't you want to be in business with me? I'm like, dude, because you're costing me more money. Like this is a lot for our agency, right? You're not a profitable human to be around, right? And you're actually hurting our clients, you're hurting yourself, and you're hurting our agency. So you got to go, homie. Right. So that's how that's going to be, guys. So we got to make sure that you are monitoring this. And I obviously want to apologize if you didn't know about any of this stuff. That's why I'm sharing with you now so that we can move forward and make sure you're really proactive instead of reactive. And all this stuff is really important, guys. And I know we get caught up in this is an amazing opportunity. We get to help a ton of families. It's really, really awesome. But there still is a business component to it. And you work for the carriers, guys. The carriers don't work for you. So I've seen some people that are like, I can't believe America did that. And I'm like, dude, you work for America. America does not work for you at all. Like they could care less. Like if you work for them, actually, if you were gone, they wouldn't even notice. Like I love you, but they have tens of thousands of agents. Like if you just never showed up again, they wouldn't care. So remember that we're lucky to be contracted with the carriers that we have. We're lucky to be, have the opportunity that we have to work with so many carriers. There are so many agents, which we should be saving them, by the way, out there that work with, they only have one carrier, or they only have 2 carriers, or they only have 1 product, right? So we're super, super lucky to have all the different carriers and all the products that we have. Remember, we work for them. We're a representation of them, right? Think about that too. If you have bad persistency, do you think America wants you representing their sales force? Not really. They want agents who are really good with clients and who stay on the books. They want those agents representing their sales force. So just think about that as you guys are moving forward. That should be pretty self-explanatory. Make sure you're checking your back offices. Again, if not, and you need to have an admin do it, then you have your own admin, not my admin. Do not ask Jade to do that because she ain't doing it. But you have your own admin. If you want one, they can help you with that as well. Okay. Last thing, guys, I want to make sure too is that we also try to stay really, really up to date with everything that is coming out. So whether that's new products, new underwriting guides, we try to new lead sources. We try to update our website as often as we can to make sure that you guys have all the resources. Des, can you drop that in the chat for people who don't have our website that has all of our agent resources? It's fflinspireagents.com. That has everything you need on there, guys. Leads, phone scripts, links, different products, links to the products, underwriting guides, things like that. So we try to update it as much as possible. Other agencies send us stuff and things like that. But the reason I'm bringing that up, guys, is I cannot possibly know everything all the time. Jade can't know everything all the time. Lonnie can't know everything all the time. So if you guys come across something that is like, hey, this is super important for the whole entire agency, maybe we should update this, or can you put this on the website? Shoot a message to Lonnie. You guys can communicate with her on Slack or on our Instagram as well if you don't have her direct number, and just say, hey, like, if you this is a team effort, guys, right? If you win, we win. If I win, you win. Everyone's all for one, right? One team, one dream. So we can't possibly know everything. So if you guys come across something, like someone texted me the other day before I knew about the new Transamerica product, and they were like, hey, do we have a new Transamerica product? And I was like, no. And they were like, are you sure? Because I saw this brochure and I was like, we don't have a new trans. And then I was like, oh, we do. Can you send me that? And then we put that on our website, right? So the reality is, guys, there are some things that are going to come out, whether you're subscribed to the carrier's emails, or maybe you get Andrew or Grady's emails or something we don't know about. If you think there's something that we need to have on our website that's really beneficial for the whole team and we don't have it yet, we're doing the best we can. But guys, you can shoot a message to Lonnie and say, hey, I have this document, or I found this thing, or I found this, brochure from the carrier, or this new bonus that just came out. Does this apply to us? And she can update that as well. We're trying to get the new underwriting guides and things like that. So, I think that's pretty much it. I know you guys are itching to get off here, but I want to make sure that, you guys have all the information that you need. You guys have all the resources that you need. And we just want to make sure that we're here to help you guys so that you guys can help yourselves and you can help more families, which again, is going to help your family.